This week, Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore hits theaters. So let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Sean, and I love to talk about movies and TV way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comment section. Share your thoughts on Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore, and if you haven't seen it yet, let me know your thoughts on the franchise up to this point in time. Has it been disappointing you? Are you excited for this one? Let me know your thoughts down below, and let's get started with the good. And I'll just immediately kick things off by saying I think that this movie is a huge improvement over The Crimes of Grindelwald. And of the movies in the Fantastic Beasts franchise, this is the one that is the most focused and has the most cohesive story. As soon as the movie ended, the credits came up and it said it was written by J.K. Rowling and Steve Kloves. And if you don't know, Steve Kloves was the screenwriter that adapted all of the Harry Potter films except for Order of the Phoenix, but J.K. Rowling wrote the previous two Fantastic Beasts films by herself. And I feel with this movie, you can just tell that an outside screenwriter came in and was able to focus the story, remove extraneous subplots, remove extra characters, and focus in on what it needed to be there and what the movie was actually about. Along those same lines, the previous two Fantastic Beasts films I felt had this kind of tension in them of, did they want to be about Newt and his Fantastic Beasts, or did they want to be about the epic battle with Grindelwald? This movie just decides that it is about the battle with Grindelwald, and Newt happens to be the lead in the story. And in doing so, it's able to pick a tone, it's able to pick an audience, and tell a story that's tied to that. And a big part of what that means in the context of this movie is that this is like a political spy thriller in the wizarding world, which is not at all what I was expecting going into the movie, and not at all the sort of language I thought I would ever use to describe a movie in the world of Harry Potter, but it actually works really nicely because you have this team of people trying to work to stop Grindelwald and what he's doing, and it's set in 1930s Europe in the lead up to World War II and what's going on in the wizarding world and how Grindelwald's trying to use all the turmoil in the world for his own means. And so it just has a bunch of interesting layers to it that makes for something new, fresh, and different in the wizarding world that tells a different type of story while still having people swinging around their magic wands and tying in lots of cute little creatures and familiar faces and characters. Speaking of Grindelwald, prior to the release of this film, there was a good bit of controversy over Johnny Depp being fired over things in his personal life and being replaced by Mads Mikkelsen. And I don't want to get into whether that should have happened. That's outside the scope of what I like to cover on my channel. But when it comes to the film itself, this is much better casting. Johnny Depp always felt like very generic casting where once again, he's got crazy hair, he's got contacts, and he's got his face painted white. And I never bought into the relationship between Johnny Depp, Grindelwald, and Dumbledore. And immediately this movie starts and the character makes more sense. He fits into this world better. And you immediately buy into the fact that him and Dumbledore have this very long, intimate history, and that those are characters that would actually be tied to one another. So whether it should happen or not, that's not for me to say. It is an improvement. Mads Mikkelsen is the person that should have been cast in the first place in this role, and just does a great job of having screen presence, having kind of this menacing side to him, while also buying into the fact that he could be someone that would be charismatic and pull people in another sense. Speaking of the characters, I really like Newt Scamander. I rewatched the first two movies before watching this one, and it just reminded me he's a lot of fun. Now, I'm not quite sure he's the right character to be the lead of this particular franchise with the story that they wanted to tell about Grindelwald, but he just has a really nice, interesting charm to him as this very shy, reserved person that still is incredibly likable at the same time. And actually, a lot of the side characters are a lot more fun than I realized because I was so frustrated by other aspects of the story, especially with the second one, where here, they get to be fun again because they're on an adventure that you're actually enjoying. And speaking of that adventure, you just get a bunch of cool wizard stuff. Now, obviously, the leads of the previous 2 movies in this franchise have been adults, but this one, it feels even more so like we're getting an idea of what wizards actually do in this world when they're on missions, and kind of see how all of that plays out, the politics, all that fun stuff, that it's a more mature story in the wizarding world. It's not targeting the younger ages the way that, the first 3 Harry Potter movies were, but it is expanding the world and telling different stories in it. To be perfectly honest, I wasn't particularly excited for this film. Crimes of Grindelwald had just kind of diminished my interest in this franchise entirely, and I was very pleasantly surprised by this film. They just seemed to pay attention about what people didn't like about the last one, brought in a screenwriter to focus the story, and told something new and different in the wizarding world. Now, it still doesn't capture the magic of the original Harry Potter films, so let's move on to the mixed aspects of the film. The big thing that comes to mind here, and kind of continue off something I just said, is that this movie is very much a course correction film, where they realized people did not respond well to some things in the previous film, and so they tried to course correct. In which case, it feels like they're backpedaling. Some characters get off a little bit too easy in light of some of the horrible choices that they made in the previous film, but at the same time, they're heading in the right direction. So, feels like they're cheating a little bit to try and win people back, but you are winning me back with the choices that they made. Next one on here, I wouldn't say this is necessarily a good or bad thing, just something to know going into the movie, but very early on, there's some animals killed on screen, and it's pretty brutal. If you're kind of an animal lover, if you're sensitive to animals being killed in film, there's something that happens very early on in the film and you think, oh, that was bad. And then it doubles down on the badness. It's even worse what ends up happening just a few moments later in the film. So just be aware, if you're sensitive to animals being harmed on film, the first 20-ish minutes of this film is a little bit rough, to the extent I went to go see it with my sister, and she was debating if she would take her daughter to go see it because she just knows her daughter would hate the stuff going on in the first 20 minutes involving some of these animals. From there, let's move on to the bad. And the big issue with the film, I think, is the big issue with the franchise, and it goes back since the original film, that it seems like they weren't entirely sure if they wanted to tell cute stories about Newt and his fantastic beasts, or tell this epic story about Grindelwald, in which case you get stuck with Newt as the lead character in an epic story when he's the wrong lead for the story that they want to tell. I think it would be great if they had 2 different franchises. One of them is Fantastic Beasts, that's about Newt and his fantastic beasts, and it is targeting kind of the audience for Harry Potter 1 through 3, the younger age demographic, and then have this other franchise that's about the epic battle with Grindelwald that's targeting the age demographic much more so than Deathly Hallows 1 and 2. It's heavier, it's darker, it's much more mature, but they seem to try to want to mash the 2 together, and I don't think it's ever fully worked, because they're 2 different audiences, they're 2 different tones, and you have this quirky lead character that's not looking to try and do epic things, and you just keep throwing him into this epic story that's really about Dumbledore and Grindelwald, and so you just feel that constant tension of who's in charge, who's the most interesting character, and why is there this baker along for the whole ride that's literally just a baker. And then the other big issue I had with the film is another big issue I have with the franchise as a whole, and it's that part of the fun of the Harry Potter films was the escapism of going off to this magical place with these miraculous things happen with this crazy game called Quidditch, where children are learning magic spells, and there's just this whimsical fun to it of exploring the world of wizards. And then almost everything in the Fantastic Beasts films makes the wizarding world seem really awful and corrupt and dangerous, and a place that you wouldn't want to go, a place you wouldn't want to explore, and it just always kind of takes a bunch of the fun out of the whole thing. I mean, in the first Fantastic Beasts films, Newt is put on death row without a trial. And so you're watching this whimsical, fun story about this guy trying to track down these creatures with this goofy guy that's kind of likable, and then he's on death row because creatures got loose. You go, wait a minute, what is going on here? And it makes you not like the wizarding world. And it's kind of more of that here, where the more you learn about how things are run and how easily things can be corrupted, you're just kind of like, oh, this is not a place I would want to explore. This isn't cool at all. Like, this is crazy. Now, I did have fun with the film, but that sense of wonder at this wizarding world is just gone when all you just see is corruption and evil and danger. And even the guy that just wants to spend his time playing around with cute animals, he keeps getting sucked up into a war with an evil wizard in politics. Just that sense of fun is missing. That was what was so special about the Harry Potter films. Real quick, before I give you my final thoughts on this one, be sure to join me down below in the comment section. If you've seen it, what did you think about Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore? If you haven't seen it yet, what's your anticipation level? What do you think about the franchise up to this point in time? And also, I will be updating my Harry Potter Wizarding World ranking coming up this weekend with all of my updated thoughts on the Harry Potter films. I've had to rethink a few of them. You guys had some strong words for me in my previous Harry Potter ranking, and you had some good points in there, so I'm excited to share that video this weekend. While Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore may not recapture the magic of the Harry Potter films, for me, I think it's my favorite of the Fantastic Beasts films and a distinct improvement over the last film because it has a more focused story and offers something new and different in the wizarding world. Overall, I'm gonna give this one a B on the entertainment scale, a 7.5 out of 10, and I do recommend checking this one out. If you're someone that really didn't like Crimes of Grindelwald, I'm right there with you. I was disappointed too. Give this one a shot. It just might win you back. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies too much.